Hi everyone, I am here coming from Portland, Oregon from the World Domination Summit. It sounds super cool, doesn't it? It's all about changing the world and entrepreneurship. It's been amazing. But one of the things when I go and I've met people that have read the blog, especially talking about this July Find Your Mentor Challenge, they had quite a few questions, so I wanted to answer and give you some tips and advice by video. So, and you can hear my voice, it sounds horrible right now because I've been talking for 4 days straight. Networking with the best of them, right? So tip number one that I gave to someone who just asked me yesterday, they said, I've been emailing people and I have no idea if they've gotten it, if they've gotten a response, nothing. It just goes into this black hole abyss. So the first question I had was, okay, how many times did you email them? And he said he listened to the Gary Vaynerchuk interview that I had done with somebody else, and that it's at least 3 times, right? So he had emailed them 3 times and heard nothing. So if something like that happens, one thing I would do is trying to figure out if they're actually getting your emails. So sometimes it goes to a gatekeeper, like my assistant checks my emails, and you don't know whether or not it's going past them. So you can either email and ask to find out if they've even gotten them. That way you don't have to keep checking and checking and checking. Or one of the other tips that I've had that I've actually used for doing offline stuff is to call. So a lot of the times you could find a phone number, especially if it's a bigger company, and you can try and find out like who the right person is to contact in order to get a hold of them. A lot of the times when you actually talk to someone in person, it's easier to get to the next level. Right, sometimes the gatekeepers are horribly mean and all that fun stuff, but a lot of the times if you can use some tips and tricks, like trying to get to know them really well, knowing the assistant's name, trying to say, I just want to reach out to them for 5 minutes, I want to try and help them, I want to give them a testimonial, I just really am trying to be there for them, I don't really want to take up too much of their time. That actually might get you more leeway. So that's number one. Number two, that was trying to do other channels besides just email. Like, they're probably on Facebook, they're probably on Twitter. I've told the story before about how I got a hold of Andrew Warner, who I could not get a hold of at all beforehand. I emailed him and he said no, and then I kept emailing him and he again didn't respond, as if like I already said no, I don't want to respond to you again. And then of course I ended up getting a hold of him on Twitter. And the funny thing is I actually finally met him in person and we got to hang out here at WDS. So that's one, trying to go around it. So that's sort of the digital way. Now the other side of it, how I mentioned a little bit about doing networking in person. You know me, that's why I'm here at WDS. I love networking in person, especially even just locally. So that way you can get to know a person. Via email and even Skype chat is really not the same. Hanging out with someone and being able to know their personality and joke around with them and actually become friends is probably the best way. So one tip I can give you for if you can be doing it in person, or if you might be meeting this person in person soon, even if you've never met them before, is email them and let them know that you'd love to introduce them to someone else that they might also want to know. Does that make sense? So, for instance, say I knew Andrew Warner, who I'd never met before, was coming to WDS. And I was like, man, I'd really love to meet him. I'm not really sure. He's been ignoring my emails forever. One tactic that I would try is I would email him and say, I know so-and-so who's absolutely amazing, tell a little bit about their bio, and say, he's actually coming to WDS too. I was hoping to be able to introduce you guys. So even if I'm not that important to Andrew, if I know someone that might be important to Andrew, I'd love to do the introduction, and that can help you actually get to meet them in person too. So that's tactic number one. Tactic number two is to hang out with people that they hang out with. The best way to get introduced to anyone is by a friend of them. Okay, so as I'm here hanging out with some amazing people, they know other amazing people. And so a lot of the times I'll even ask for an introduction. If they talk about knowing someone specific, I'll go, oh great, can you introduce me? 9 times out of 10, they're like, sure, no problem at all. And they walk me over and do an introduction. Okay, that's why going to like bigger conferences that might have more important people that you really need to know would be important for finding a mentor. So that's number two. I do the same thing. I try and introduce, when I'm at any conference, introduce people to as many people as possible. Then what you want to do is when you've met them in person, try and get a follow-up, right? Oh, I'd love to email you. Maybe I can send you a video testimonial. Just try and get a little bit deeper and then have some sort of follow-up so you can continue the conversation later. So I hope these tips were helpful. That's pretty much what I told someone who asked me specifically yesterday. So I wanted to make sure I gave it to you too. Good luck with the July challenge. I hope you have an amazing time doing it and make some really great connections. Have a great day. Take care.